Hello everybody, welcome to Roblox Studio Tutorial Basics. Today we're going to be talking about building. We're just going to go through the quick motions of getting used to the 3D window, Explorer properties, and kind of talking about the 4 basic studio building tools, as well as just building a basic chair. That's just all we're going to do and really get into it, and then we'll dive deeper into the next video and talk about different more powerful things that you can do with Studio. So let's jump right in. Let's head over to base plate right here. Let's get that loaded up. And as you can see here, here's your 3D view window. A lot of things go on in this window, but what you really need to know for this video is that you can hold right click to kind of look around, see the skybox, see the moon, and then of course our base plate. You can use WASD to move around, Q and E to move up and down. And then of course you can use basic arrow keys, but I prefer WASD. Alright, that's just the basics there. Let's head over to Explorer. And let's drop down Workspace. So Workspace is going to have a lot of stuff in it almost all the time, especially with bigger projects. So you'll want to get a good organization. We'll talk about great things you can do to organize in later videos. And you know, you may be seeing a lot of this, and you may be like, wow, what is all this? And that's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll get deeper into it in later tutorials. But let's go ahead and start off by clicking base plate right here. And as you can see, properties opened up with a ton of different things. So as you can see, you can change your brick color. And we're just going to keep it a dark stone gray, but you can change it to any color on the color palette. And you can change the material as well. Granite, grass. Materials are just built-in textures in Roblox Studio, and we're just going to flop back to plastic right here. You can also change the reflectance of your part. So if we do one whole reflectance, as you can see, it's a very reflective part, basically a mirror. But let's set this back to 0. And transparency, as you can imagine, we'll set the transparency of the part. You can make it completely disappear even. We're going to set this back to 0. And we'll talk more about behavior and surface here in a minute. Let's head over to Home right here, or our ribbon bar. UI is what this is called. But let's head over to our Model tab. So you can do quite a few things here, but let's click Model. This is our more extensive view about everything we're going to need in order to build and edit in Roblox Studio. Let's insert a part. If you do this drop down, you can see there are 4 different types of built-in parts in the Studio: block, sphere, wedge, and cylinder. Today we're just going to do block, and you can just do that by clicking part right there. And as you can see, a 2x4 medium stone gray brick has spawned in our 3D view. If we click this, as you can see, the properties are all changed. We'll get more into a little bit of things. As you can see, anchored in this one is unchecked and so is locked, and we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But let's head over to our top left corner here. As you can see, we have select, and select is control 1, so if you're on a different tab, you can hit control 1 to go back to it. And we can just left mouse button and hold, and just drag this guy around. Well, let's just set him right here, and click, and let's move over to move. So our move tool will move things on a defined axis. So as you can see here, we can move it up and down, we can move it right, left, side to side, and we'll just leave them right there. Move is control 2. And then let's go to scale. You can either click it or hit control 3 on your keyboard. And and scaling is what's going to make our part bigger. So we can make our part this big, and we can also just reset it. You can also use Control Z as well to reset your part back to its original state. Alright, let's rotate. So for rotating, you'll probably have to turn collisions off. Your collision thing will probably look like this right now. As you can see, it's not letting you rotate. That's alright. Turn collisions off, and now you can rotate. Collisions on means that it detects that a part is under it and is not going to let you move or rotate it into that part. Alright, let's go back to our select tool. I kind of want to show you something kind of cool. So as you can see here, it's snapping to a grid when you drag and when we scaled and moved as well. If we change this to, let's say, 2 studs, we can now move it by a 2 stud grid basis. And if we were looking for finer movements, we could also make it even like 0.5. And it is now on a 0.5 stud. So you can now move it at half a stud. But we're not going to do that just yet. That'll be a more different tutorial when we get into finer grained movements. Let's try to scale this guy down. Let's go back to our scale tool. Just click up here or hit Control 3. And let's scale this guy to a 1x1 stud. And you can always check your size by going to the Properties menu and checking out the size. And you can even do a drop down to see which axis it is on. Alright, there are multiple ways you can duplicate this part in Roblox Studio. You can either do Control C, Control V, and if you do that, as you can see, it puts it here, and you can now move it around. Let's go ahead and press delete, or you can go up to the part, right click and delete. But let's click this guy and let's hit Control D. What Control D is duplicate, and you can see that it created another part. If we hit Control 2 or move, our move tool, we can now move this guy, and as you can see, it duplicated that exact same part in its same location. Let's go ahead and delete this part real quick. We're going to head over here and hit delete. And let's actually manipulate this part. Let's hit Control 3 and let's scale this guy up a little bit. And then let's change this color to brown. And let's maybe change this material to wood. Let's build a chair. And while we're at it, let's go down to our surface. And as you can see, our different surfaces. And if you click top surface, which is what we want, let's say we want to change this. As you can see, there are a lot of options. We'll get more into them later, but right now we just want smooth. And as you can see, it got rid of that stud up top. Let's click this guy. Let's hit Control 2 or our move tool, and then let's duplicate it. So Control D. And then let's move this guy back. And then let's multi-select. So you can multi-select multiple different ways. You can either control click your physical parts. You can also do the same thing in Explore, or you can click, hold, and drag. Either way, it's going to get you the exact same behavior. Let's Control D both these guys, and let's move it like this. So now we have our legs. Let's Control D this guy and duplicate him. And let's scale this guy down a little bit. So grab our scale tool, scale him down to 1 stud, and then let's scale this guy just like this to cover our legs. Perfect. We're almost there. Let's Control D one more time. Grab our move tool. And move this guy up. And let's scale this guy. And let's have it back. Perfect. We have our chair. Now what if we want to check out our chair in person? Let's head over to test. And let's click play. So this is going to simulate us in a local server. And as you can see, this chair is really big. But that's okay. Let's just pretend that we needed an oversized chair. As you can see, we're knocking our parts around by physically touching them. We can change that. And as you can also see, these guys did not move. And that's because on the bottom of them, we can actually go in here. Let's hit stop, which is up here. And if you click the leg, so as you can see, these are studs right here on this base plate. And on the bottom, they're inlets, so they will not move. But these guys were falling off. And what actually was happening, so let's select all of our parts. What was happening is we need them to be set to anchored. And when a part is set to anchored, it's not going to move no matter what. So we need to set these parts to anchored. And that way, we can no longer, when we collide with them, we can no longer cause them to move. As we see here. Alright. Now, let's say we wanted our friend to use this oversized chair in his game, and we're just building this for him. What we can do is we can go back to model, and we can hit group, or we can do Control G, whatever you prefer. And as you can see, it turned this into a model. So all the parts, all the parts are going to be in this model, and that's what we want, right? And now we can just move the chair around as an entire brick instead of selecting all the parts individually. Let's rename this guy to chair. And then we're going to right click, save to Roblox. And then as you can see, I've already created a chair, but create new, name chair, and then our first model. And then in order for him to use it, we'll want to unclick that so that it is no longer locked. And if it is locked, that means that no one can access it but us. And then we can change it to building, and then you'll want to upload and finish. And then if you wanted to check it out, what you can do is you can go to your browser, go to develop, and then you can go to your models, and as you can see, your chair is right here, and anyone can grab it. And you can also configure its settings again, so if you wanted to lock it, so if your friend had grabbed it and you wanted to lock it, you can now uncheck free item, save, and it is no longer available for anybody to use. And that is the simple how to build a chair intro to building. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a comment below and I will respond as soon as possible. If not, that's perfectly fine, and I will see you guys in the next one. See ya.